Dave Albee graduated from Foxcroft Academy. He could have never dreamed that more than 50 years later he'd write a book about his school and the only state basketball championship it has ever won. It's a story about the academy, of course, but really it's a story about small towns in Maine and how much high school basketball meant when there were far fewer forms of entertainment than there are now.
The book is called The Last One Out of Town, Turn Out the Lights. It was a labor of love for Albee, who worked for 35 years as a sports writer for various newspapers across the country. The break that got him his first newspaper job came when he was working at the A&P supermarket in Dover Foxcroft and got talking with the editor of the local paper, the Piscataquis Observer, about the opening game that year of the high school basketball season against Orono.
And I asked her, I said, "Are you going to the game this weekend?" And she said, "Well, I'm not going to go. I really don't know a lot about basketball." And I asked the question, "Well, would you like me to do the game for you?" So I go down on a Saturday night, cover the game. Sunday morning, I write out the game story longhand. Monday morning, I turn it into the Piscataquis Observer, and on Tuesday, the editor-publisher of the Piscataquis Observer calls me up and offers me a full-time job.
So when you were, in effect, auditioning for a newspaper job, you didn't even have access to a typewriter?
No, I wrote it out longhand.
To understand this story, you have to have some kind of a grasp of what high school basketball meant in Maine in the 1970s, especially in the small towns. And it's hard to overemphasize how important it was in the winter to have high school basketball.
Well, you can't do this. They couldn't write this book about Foxcroft, about telling the story about Monson, because the school consolidation basically closed Monson Academy and sent Monson Academy students to Dover Foxcroft to Foxcroft Academy. And Monson had a tremendous basketball tradition in that period of time in small schools. And they wound up, that was the civic pride. That was the focus of the whole town, was that basketball game on a Saturday night or a Friday night. And all of a sudden that disappeared, and they ended up shipping their students to, busing their students to Dover Foxcroft.
I love your description of what some of the gymnasiums were like in the small high schools, and I'm going to read from the book. In Heartland's gym, there was a bed mattress nailed to the stage at one end of the court to protect players from running into it. In Harmony's gym, the ceiling was so low that players had to change the trajectory of their field goals. They had to basically do line drives. And then my favorite is in Athens, the, as you put it, gym in quotes. It was inside the town's fire station, and when basketball games were played, the town's 2 fire trucks were parked in plain view about 8 feet from one of the baselines.
Yeah, and there was in this episode in that game, it was a brutally cold night outside, and inside it was just warm, and the floor started sweating. So this perspiration, moisture on the floor, and one of Monson's star players goes in for a layup, and he slides on the floor and literally slides all the way underneath one of the fire trucks.
When high school basketball teams played back in the 1970s, it's not an exaggeration to say that almost everybody in town showed up, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the stadium, or not the stadium, the stands were packed.
Yeah, at every game. So there wasn't a lot of entertainment going on, and it was like, if we're going to do something tonight, it's either watching one of 3 TV stations at the time or going to the local basketball game. And when the team was so successful, you got everybody in there. It was just incredibly intense atmospheres.
And the players who were on the team, as you put it, were almost like royalty. If they were good, they were almost like royalty.
They felt like celebrities, yeah. They felt like celebrities. They were going around town and people were going up to them they didn't know, and it's because of their association with the basketball team. So one guy said, I don't know what to say to you because I don't understand why you know me, but they knew him because he was a basketball player and he was a big star in town, the celebrity.
The book follows the 1975 Foxcroft Academy team through its undefeated regular season into the playoffs and finally to its championship game against another undefeated powerhouse, Madomic Valley.
One of my favorite things in this story is of how excited the Foxcroft players were that they had a Greyhound bus chartered for them that they could take from Dover down to Augusta for the championship game. And being able to ride in a Greyhound bus rather than a school bus, wow, that was great.
That was a big thing. The funny story about that is Al Barham of Madomic Valley. He's in the parking lot at the Augusta Civic Center when the bus rolls up, and he sees the Foxcroft team coming off the bus, and he's going, wait a minute, why couldn't we have a Greyhound bus? We had to come in a yellow school bus.
Foxcroft defeated Madomic Valley in the state championship, its only gold ball ever.
200-year history.
As a reporter, were on the bus with the players as they returned from Augusta to Dover Foxcroft.
Yeah, and that was an amazing scene. I can remember getting off the bus and getting on the Greyhound bus at the Newport exit, which is, 27 miles from Dover Foxcroft, and there were already fans from Foxcroft at that exit cheering them on when they were coming home.
What do you hope readers take away from this book?
I hope that they enjoy this book as much as I enjoyed researching and writing it. We're talking about events that happened 50 years ago, and it's just like yesterday, and people are just, you bring a smile to your face, and it's a feel-good time, and I hope that people enjoy the fun I have with this book and get that out of it.
Again, the name of Dave Albee's book is The Last One Out of Town, Turn Out the Lights, a reference to a big sign bearing that message that a guy put up in Dover Foxcroft when he saw how the town emptied out when Foxcroft Academy was playing away basketball games.